So good evening, everyone. Good evening, good night, everyone in the world. Neil, thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
Have with us tonight, Neil and Tony. Neil, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, I'm doing okay. Just looking forward to the weekend, Looking forward to the weekend. How are you guys doing?
Excellent. We're doing well. Yeah, Tony, how are you doing?
Very good as well. Yeah, Neil, thanks. I was just remarking to Bertram that I'm stepping up my fitness for the summer. So today I did a 20-mile bike ride. So yeah, I'm feeling good. Looking forward to a nice weekend.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can do 20-mile bike rides. I've had a bunch of knee surgeries from trying to play soccer or play football, as we call it, and that doesn't help in terms of putting pressure on the knees. But I do work out. I did build a gym in my garage, actually, over the COVID period. So that's worked out well. Andy, thanks for joining us. How are you doing?
How you doing? All right?
Doing well. How are you doing, Andy?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry about last week. I lost my phone for a few days.
That's all right.
Go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, we didn't have a show anyway, so it was International Week, wasn't it? So,
well, no, we haven't had a show since the International Week, actually. So we're off for 2 weeks, so now we're back to talk about all that's football, all that's Premier League. But I want to change the format a little bit different today. A lot has happened over the last 2 weeks. In fact, a lot has happened over the last season. I can recall when we used to be, as Arsenal, make top four on a regular basis, we would complain and protest vehemently that we want Wenger out because top four wasn't good enough. And now we're trying to figure out how to get to top four. So things have changed quite a bit since Wenger left. I think Wenger's last year we didn't make top four. We have made top four since. And the more we look, the more it's going in the rearview mirror and getting further and further away. So that's not a good thing. Tottenham seems to want to join us. They believe that they should be close to us wherever we're going. So they have made top four, in the last season or so, or a couple of seasons since Poch left? One season? Okay, well, it may be a couple of seasons given how things are going this year. But I'm sure you're going to bounce back.
Four seasons previous to that.
So Andy has to remind me and push it in that we're not in the same ballpark more recently in terms of how we're doing. And Neil doesn't have that problem since Jose left, actually.
No, Neil's a Liverpool fan.
I'm sorry, Liverpool. Well, you won last year, so Neil doesn't matter.
We joined you guys as well this season.
Well, we want to talk about, we don't play Liverpool. We turn up to play what we call backs and forwards. We kick the ball to you and you attack us, and we give it back to you and you attack us again. That's how we play against Liverpool. Now, I want to change the format up a little bit, talk more about, since we're almost at the end of the season, two things. One is, last part of the discussion, we'll discuss the games coming up and our predictions. But the first part of the discussion is more around what does where's your team currently now, you think, and what do you need going forward to be competitive for either league title or top four for next year? So I'll start with Neil, actually, because you probably don't need as much as we do, both us and Andy. So I'll start with Neil, actually. Where you think you are now? You have lost to Madrid last game. You now have a home game to play, but there's no fans in the stadium. You've had a ton of injuries this year, which has derailed your title progress, actually. So where do you think you are now and going forward, what do you need to get you back to the top of the perch?
Okay, to get us back up, well, at least in the top four anyway, definitely going to need to get the injuries under control. I personally believe that there might be a problem with like the back end staff, the medical. There's just, compared to like last season and the season before, we haven't had so many injuries in such a short space of time, and to have so many major players, especially in our defence, out all for very similar injuries, something needs to change. Something needs to happen there.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody sort of disappeared when I was talking, so I just thought I might have been talking to myself for a minute.
No, we're seeing you. Somehow the picture switched to you. I think he's emphasizing you. Go ahead.
Okay, so we need to get the injuries under control. Liverpool definitely need a striker, a decent backup striker. I mean, we've got 4 good forwards, but when you look throughout the whole season, the amount of missed chances, especially by Salah, something needs to change, because the more we get into that position and the more we miss the chances, the most likely we won't end up where we want to end up with, hopefully, just like everybody else, wanting to win the league. So I think we need a decent backup striker. And I also think that Klopp needs to change his perceptions on the cup games, because we don't seem to take those as seriously as the league and the Champions League.
Okay. So what striker out there do you see sort of being able to pursue to satisfy what you're trying to achieve?
Difficult one to say, because I mean at the moment, Klopp's managed to get strikers that we wouldn't sort of normally look at. So Jota, I was surprised when he came over. But he's done pretty well since. So I mean, I'd like to see someone of sort of like Aguero's sort of class, but knowing Klopp, he's going to probably bring somebody else in who's nowhere near as good. But it's kind of difficult to say, because no matter who I say, Klopp will probably get the opposite anyway, and just have him sitting on the bench through the majority of the season anyway.
So here's what I'm going to do also. I'm going to ask the other panelists what they think you need. So you just indicate what you need. You say a striker. Do you need defenders? Do you also need midfielders, or just a striker?
Okay, definitely midfielders. I mean, we've got so many midfielders, but the way I look at it, I've always kind of said to myself, I look at Liverpool and I kind of say, okay, look at our front three. Would they break straight into the first team of our competitors? The answer is yes. Defenders, yes. Midfielders, no. So for me, we need a couple of midfielders, in my view, that can pick players out. I mean, we're relying too much on Alexander-Arnold and Robertson at the moment to be with those long searching, picking out balls. We haven't got that within midfield. We need one or two players who can do that.
Any persons out there you see could fit that role?
Do you know what? I'd love to see Coutinho come back, because that's what he did when he was with Liverpool. And it obviously hasn't worked out when he left the club. I was hoped that Klopp would have just gone back in for him and just brought him in, because that's what was missing. I mean, before he went, Liverpool were doing really well within the midfield. Other players have had to step up, but none of them in the midfield are as good as him, in my view.
Okay. Andy, what's your thoughts on Liverpool? We'll get to Spurs. What are your thoughts on Liverpool and what do you think they need, if anything?
Well, I mean, the way I look at it is, if Van Dijk recovers for the start of next season, I mean, there's talk that he's, stepping up training now, and that Klopp's being very cagey about it, but there's some talk that he might actually get to play before the end of the season. But I know the Netherlands want him in for the Euros, but I'm not sure. I think Klopp's trying to manage expectations and try and play that down, because I'm not sure Klopp wants him to play in the Euros. I think he wants to be ready for next season. But let's assume Van Dijk's back fully fit for the start of next season. Well, that means Fabinho can go back into midfield, which is where he's one of the best in the world in that position. And all of a sudden, Liverpool are looking an awful lot stronger again. Gomez will recover, and I think you start putting that back together again. They've still got a very good side. I think they could do with some new blood to add to their attacking sort of areas. A creative midfielder, like Neil was just saying about someone like Coutinho. I'm not sure Coutinho would be the answer, as we've found out to our cost with Bale. Going back to your former club doesn't always work out. And Coutinho, I'm not sure Coutinho's the same player as he was a few. I think what Liverpool could do with is a centre forward. I think that would really make a difference to their team if they bought a top class centre forward. Well, I mean, because Firmino seems to have gone off the boil.
No,
what are you laughing at, Tony?
I can't agree.
I just read Tony from Cool K, which says Liverpool know they have to be better next season. If they're not going to do so much in the transfer market, then Liverpool squad know they will have to raise their levels once again. Tony, your view?
I'm confused because both Andy and Neil have said Liverpool needs strikers, and that's the one position that I think Liverpool are loaded more than most teams. Because even if you look at Man City, look, okay, let me hear me out. Man City have one striker, 1.5 strikers. De Jesus and Aguero, who's kind of finished now.
He's leaving, so he's going, isn't he?
Exactly. Liverpool have Mane, Firmino, Jota, Origi.
Yeah, but they're not centre forwards, Tone. None of those. Firmino, apart from Firmino, none of those are centre forwards.
If you look at those players, they're actually midfielders turned into forwards.
But look at the way they play.
Firmino is a centre forward out of that lot.
A second. All right, that's like saying Ronaldo's a midfielder. That's what you're saying. Because he doesn't play right in the middle of the pitch.
Tony, there's a difference between a wide forward and a centre forward. But Ronaldo is a wide forward. He's not a centre forward.
Where does the word wide forward ever come into football, Andy?
Traditionally, we would call it a winger.
So what is he? Is he a striker or is he a midfielder?
Well, there's a difference between a centre forward is a specific type of striker. A left winger is a specific
guys.
A right winger is a specific type of striker.
Yes.
I'll jump in.
All strikers are centre forwards because they're not. A centre forward is a typical.
I'll jump in and say I agree with Andy. Tony, I'm sorry, and I agree with Neil, which is I think we have gone to this more contemporary way of sort of thinking about football, thinking about the traditional wingers being midfielders, and we're sort of we're commingling the whole midfield to be 5, 6, 7 people versus traditional concept, which is have a CF, 2 wingers, 3 midfielders, 4 defenders. Now we have changed all up with 5-3-2, 5-2-1, whatever we want to call it. But Mane and Salah are not traditional centre forwards, right?
Okay, let me ask you a question, Bertram.
Yes.
What is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang?
He's a centre forward who's been converted to a winger unsuccessfully.
I mean, okay. If you look at it, you look at Robertson. If you look at Robertson and Alexander-Arnold, there are wingers and they're defenders.
Thank you. So by that reckoning, if Robertson and Trent Alexander are wingers, then that by default means that Mane and Salah are not wingers.
They're not. They're not wingers. They're wing backs.
So guys, here's what we're doing. So because football has changed, if you agree with that logic, Tony, then you only have 2 defenders.
Yeah.
There's no such thing. You only have 2 defenders. You said only 2 center backs are defenders. The wing backs are now wingers. Yes, I agree. In a 3 defender formation, your 2 wing backs now become almost like wingers. But let's go back to the traditional way of what we think about it, which is Mane and Salah are not traditional center forward.
Right.
Neither is Saka. Saka is not a center forward.
Yeah. So they're not traditional centre forwards. Andy, let me finish. They're not traditional centre forwards. But when you go and you play at the top of the pitch ahead of a centre forward who you're saying is their only centre forward is Firmino. Yeah? If those 2 players are primarily playing against that guy. Sorry, and who else?
And Origi.
Okay. So those guys predominantly on a heat map will appear more ahead of the centre forward. As far as I'm concerned, they might not be in the centre, but they're forwards. Yeah? So if we go back to the old average of defenders, midfielders, and forwards, yeah, Mane and Salah are forwards. Whether they play centre is not
forwards.
Right. So they're not midfielders, they're forwards. Liverpool have 5 good to world-class midfield forwards who can also be strikers, because all of them will get you a bag of goals.
No, but Tony, here's the thing though. So here's the logic, which is this. My center forward has certain attributes and skill sets, which my winger may not have, and vice versa.
They're
right?
not wingers, bro. They're forwards.
Oh, okay.
Think of
My
what they are.
center.
They're forwards.
But Tony, here's the thing though. No, they're wingers in the concept. You know why?
No, they're not,
my
because
winger,
they're not delivering crosses, bro.
But Tony,
They're not
listen to
delivering
this.
crosses. Wingers produce crosses. That's Trent Alexander and Robertson.
Tony, does Saka produce cross?
Can I make the point I was going to make before I waited for Tony?
Go ahead.
Salah, Mane, Jota, etc. They are what we would traditionally call back in the day inside forwards. So they're basically forwards that play in off the flank.
Yeah.
They're not traditional wingers.
No.
They're what they call inside forwards, which basically they're playing in the slipstream of the centre forwards and usually running beyond the centre forward. A bit like Son does for Spurs and that sort of thing. It's a similar type of role. Jota, Salah, Mane, they're three of the best at that role. They're really, really good.
Amen.
But my point is that neither Origi nor Firmino this season, Firmino in previous seasons, yes, but Firmino this season hasn't really been at it. So, I mean, I've had this conversation with other people who've been saying Firmino's crap. And I say, well, he wasn't crap last year or the season before. Yes, but he has been poor this season.
Yeah.
So the point is Firmino going to rediscover his form of previous seasons? Or is it going to be an extension of what we've seen this season? In which case, I think Liverpool probably need a better central focus for the likes of Salah, Mane, Jota to work off. Because
guys, I think what we're missing is that when people think about football, they speak of these positions are mutually exclusive. What do I mean? Losing a Van Dijk means you lost some of your offense. Van Dijk makes 40-yard pass. He stretches the defense. He creates more opportunities for his midfield, his forwards who play wide, Trent Alexander to go forward. He plays like four defenders, so Trent and Robinson can do all they want to do going forward. They're not concerned about defending what they used to. He's changed dynamics of how they play. Firmino plays not like a traditional center forward. He plays like a number 10 most times.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why their team looks so discombobulated, because the whole thing got squashed and got changed when Van Dijk, Gomez, and Matip went down.
Absolutely. Van Dijk is so crucial to the way Liverpool play, because Robertson and Trent were two of the most productive players in that Liverpool's team that won the Champions League, that romped the Premier League last year. They were fantastic. But what's happened because Van Dijk is there and because of his pace and his organisational skills, that allows them to bomb on. So even in a back four, they're in effect playing like wing backs in a back five, in a back four, which means Liverpool can then fill the midfield with Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson, people like that. That's why Liverpool was so strong in the central areas that in a lot of the time they weren't being put under pressure because they were dominating the game. They almost had 5 top-class players playing across midfield. But what's happened is you lose Van Dijk, you put another not-so-good centre-back in his place, though both Trent and Robertson have to defend more in the back four, and that's not their strength. Their strengths are going forward and producing crosses. So Liverpool losing Van Dijk has affected Liverpool in many ways. But the thing is, if you get Van Dijk back, whether he's compared with one of the others, it's fine. But if he's back, then Fabinho can go back to playing where he is one of the best in the world in that number 6 role.
Yep,
he is offering protection in front of the back four. I think what Liverpool will have to do, because it's looking quite possible that Wijnaldum might go to Barcelona or somewhere else, I think they will have to replace Wijnaldum, because Wijnaldum has been an important person in that Liverpool midfield as well. And I think sometimes people forget his importance. He's quite underrated, I think, Wijnaldum, in what he's done for Liverpool. So I think it may be that they will need some quality there, like a midfield player to replace Wijnaldum. But other than that, I still think Liverpool get Van Dijk back, and particularly if they get Gomez back as well, Liverpool are still going to be a force to be reckoned with next season. Absolutely, in my opinion.
So Neil, I'm going to give you the last word on Liverpool.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay. No,
We're going to move on to another team.
I agree with a lot of what Andy said. But what you guys got to remember is that when Klopp first came in, he changed the way the team played. The team didn't play like that. We weren't as attacking. We weren't so strong up front. He's got a lot of the players to play in a different way that they would normally play in. So when you guys talk about the traditional roles, not many of the players, when you look at the team actually playing their traditional roles, they do more than just their particular roles. So if you look at take Van Dijk, for example, yes, he's great at the back, but when it comes to set pieces, they're always aiming for him. He's the one who's getting the headers, that sort of stuff. That's what Klopp has done with every player within the team. So they're multifaceted. So we don't have the traditional type players as a lot of teams would have, or if you're trying to compare them to the teams of old. That's gone. As long as Klopp's there, you can't look at the team like that as when it comes to the certain positions.
Yeah, that's why I'll say the last word, by the way. That's why Tony's view about how it's constructed, I don't disagree with, because Klopp construct is a little bit different. You play in different positions between Firmino playing deep, Alexander-Arnold and Robinson wide, where Van Dijk plays. So we move on to Spurs, my favorite team next to my team. And we'll ask Andy, given what has transpired this season, hasn't been the best season. You started off with a ball of fire. You were doing really well in top four. Things have fallen out since then. You're now back in a decent position and still pushing for top four. What do you need going forward? I really have a lot of ideas here, but what do you need going forward to get you to where you want to be?
I really think that the crucial area for us to address in the summer is the back four. I mean, particularly centre halves and right back. I think we need two central defenders, not necessarily that are going to go straight into the team, but they need to be two top quality central defenders that could go straight into the team, but possibly only one of them will go in to start with, and then the other one can come in or whatever. But we certainly need two, I think, central defenders, and we need a right back, because we've never really replaced Walker. I mean, we let Walker go 4 years ago, having had the best season that accumulated the most points that Spurs have ever accumulated in the history of the league, in that season when we just missed out to Chelsea. And, we had arguably the best team in the country, but okay, we have to accept we were second at Chelsea that season. We had the back four of Rose, Walker, Vertonghen and Alderweireld. And we let Walker go. Rose got injured. Alderweireld got injured a bit. We brought Sanchez in. And the defence has never been the same since. We had Trippier at right back, who was decent but not as good as Walker. Then we let him go in a bizarre move for peanuts, really, in modern day terms, for an England international, to Atletico Madrid. And I just don't think Aurier or Doherty are good enough if we're going to be a top class side. I think they're decent against most teams, but not against the top sides. As Sanchez is proving a liability, Dyer, I don't think good enough at centre half. He'll do again. Dyer will do a job for you in most games, but it's not like I'm not like. And you see some Spurs fans, and literally 1 minute everyone's the greatest player in the world because we've just won 5-0, and the next minute they're the worst players in the world because some poor team's beating us 3-0 or something. You can't switch like that. You've got to accept that sometimes decent players have bad games, and sometimes not so great players have good games. That does happen. Aurier and Sanchez have had some very good games this season, but the problem is you can always count on them to make an error in a big game or at a crucial moment in a match, give away a penalty, give away a free kick just outside the area that was unnecessary. And that's what separates top class players from decent players. The top class players have that concentration level switched on all the time, and they don't make mistakes generally. You might make one a season, but not like 4 or 5, 6 in a season. and you know, that's what we need. I mean, my personal. I mean, I've been watching. You know, I watch a lot of football and I love it, and I really like Anderson at Fulham. I think he's had a great season for Fulham, and I would be really keen on signing him for Lyon, from Lyon, because he's on loan at Fulham from Lyon. But also a lot of reports in the papers saying we're after Diego Garcia from Seville, and apparently Seville are interested in Davinson Sanchez. Well, if we could get Sanchez to Seville and get Garcia in, you know, and pay them you know, 20, 30 million on top and give them Sanchez, I'd take that. Apparently Garcia has a 64 million pound release clause or something. If we could offset half of that for Sanchez, then I think that could be a good move. But I've got a feeling Man United are also sniffing around there as well. So we'll see. We've also been linked with a cheaper option of Vestergaard at Southampton. So we'll you know, there's a few sort of, you know, things doing the rounds. I quite like Dunk at Brighton. You know, I quite like the idea of having someone that's got a bit of Premier League experience, which is why I quite like Anderson at Fulham. But for me, central defensive area and right back are crucial, because I look at our forward line. I don't have a problem. I mean, if we keep Kane, and I think we will, I don't think Kane will leave, mainly because Levy's not going to sell him for peanuts. Levy's already intimated he's not going anywhere for less than 175 million, and no one's going to pay that. Who's going to pay that in the pandemic market? I can't see it. So even if Kane wants to go, he's got 3 years left on his contract. I don't think he's going this year. But we'll see. I might be proven wrong, but it will take a big wage to get rid of Kane. So we keep Kane and Son. We're all right up front. I think we've got, you know, Ndombele, Højbjerg, Skip's tearing it up in the Championship. We can bring him back. You know, he's looking like he's developed very well this year. Sessegnon's doing well out in Hoffenheim. He's still on loan. We've got some good players out on loan that we could bring back to strengthen the squad. And they're English players as well. So that is one. We're looking apparently at Sam Johnston, the keeper at West Brom. So I think he would be a better backup than Hart for Lloris.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, really, I'm more concerned about the back line than anything else.
Okay, so Paul is saying, Andy, you did well in games. Sissoko and Højbjerg dropping into the defensive line.
Yeah.
Less in the space. Your CBs were forced to defend. Drawback is that you limit yourself to a handful, I guess you would say, in terms of getting forward. Tony, your views on Spurs?
100% in agreement with Andy. I mean, you know, Andy is very well versed on his team, and I have to totally agree with him. I actually wanted to backtrack very, very briefly back to Liverpool. As I was saying, Liverpool have 5 what I would call good to world-class centre forwards. We've got 1. Liverpool have what appears to be a deficiency in the centre back area. We got 8 of them. So I would happily do a deal.
We're not talking about Tony. We're talking about. We'll get to Arsenal. We'll get to Arsenal and their challenges.
I'm just saying how I would help Neil, because I think his needs in the centre back, we could help him.
Those in glass house can't throw stones. You can't want to have someone when you're in dire straits. You don't need help. You need to help yourself. Okay.
We won the Audi Cup.
Yeah. Neil, what do you think that Spurs need?
Okay, so I'm in agreement with Andy as well. Definitely centre backs and a right defender. This is going to be a little bit controversial. They need a new manager. No disrespect. They have got a very good squad. Yeah. And where Mourinho goes, of late, there's been a lot of negative vibes around the way the teams play. And you can see that Mourinho effect happening with Tottenham as well. Seriously, compared to when Pochettino was there, I think that team they've gone backwards. Definitely look as they've gone backwards. And the main difference really is the manager. And Mourinho does that. He did that at United. When he came back to Chelsea, he did that at Chelsea as well. Get rid of him. I think that even with the play, even if you don't change any of the players, I think the whole squad will play a lot better. I think you've got a good squad there. But that's why
I honestly believe we are underperforming with the squad we have. I do believe we have a very good squad, but we are short, and we have known it for what's annoying is they've known this for 2-3 years that we needed replacements. We were going to need replacements for Vertonghen, for Alderweireld, for right back Trippier when we were letting him go, and they haven't really dealt with it. They've let it slide because of the stadium and all the rest of it. But you've also, just to pick up something you said, Neil, I would agree with you for the first 4 years of Pochettino's reign, but the last year we were poor under Pochettino, and that's why he went. So if you're looking at comparing what we are now to the end of Pochettino, well, there's not really that much difference, quite frankly. I think Pochettino himself made an error when he said before the Champions League final against Liverpool, he said, if we win, it might be the end of the road for me here, because what more could I do? And I think that he kind of created a bad atmosphere. Ericsson was thinking the same. And Vertonghen and Alderweireld at the time hadn't signed a new contract. It was problematic for us at that stage. And they just started the following season, and something needed to change. And I love Pochettino. I still believe that under Pochettino, we were, for a period of time, the best team in the country. But unfortunately, we didn't win anything, in which case you can't call yourself the best team in the country. So, that is the way it is. We scored more goals than anyone else. We conceded the least. We accumulated more points over 2 seasons than anyone else. But in each season, there was one team better than us. Leicester one year, Chelsea the following year, and that was, that's the way it is. But at the end of Pochettino, it was we weren't good, and that's why he went. But Mourinho, I don't know. You've got to remember the last 2 years has been strange, with everything Spurs had going on with the stadium. At the end of Pochettino, he was playing at Wembley Stadium for 2 years. We didn't even have a home ground. We were at Wembley. Then he didn't have any transfers for a year. That set the tone for the decline of the team. And now they need to invest this summer to strengthen, particularly the defence, to improve the side. But I still believe for the last 9 games of this season, there has to be one name on the team sheet. That must be Alderweireld. Alderweireld must play for the rest of the season. I don't know what's been going on and why he's not been playing recently, but he is the only defender that you can mainly rely on. Quite frankly, whether you play Dyer, Sanchez or Rodon with him, I don't care, really. But Alderweireld needs to be in the team, because he is our strongest defender, without a shadow of a doubt. And he needs to.
So I'll say a couple of things. Couple of things. One is, I think Spurs, a lot of players are too similar in a number of different ways in terms of quality. So when you have differentiation between your backups and your starters, that does help in terms of the consistency of the team. So you look at Spurs, apart from Kane and Son, and maybe Højbjerg, look throughout the team, and the goalkeeper, who, by the way, Andy didn't mention, but it's his last year of his contract. Is he going to sign a new deal? That's another interesting question. So you may need a back 5 versus a back 4, frankly.
He's been linked with Nice. He's been linked with PSG. So, I mean, that's possible, but I still think that Lloris will stay one more year. I still think he will stay next season.
So Kuke saying, was bossy move by Levy to chop Poch, but in hindsight, I think they've regressed even more. Such a waste of attacking talent. This season's performances have been absolutely dire from what I've seen.
Well,
I'm not sure it has been dire.
We've had some excellent performances, but they've been less frequent since Christmas. Earlier in the year, we had some very good performances, but they've been sporadic. In the last couple of months, we'll have one really good performance, and he'll follow it up with a dismal performance. And there's been no consistency. So now they've got one game a week, or at most 2 games in well, I think 1 or 2 of the weeks. But they don't have Europe to concentrate on now. And although that's irritating, it may end up being a blessing in disguise. The fact that they can just focus. We play United Sunday. They played last night. We've had a break for a few days. I can only hope that we're fresh going at United on Sunday. I think we've got a big week coming up. We've got United Sunday and Everton next Friday. So by the time we see each other again at 10 o'clock next Friday, we'll have had 2 matches. I believe minimum we need 4 points from those 2 matches, preferably 6, but I think we need 4 definitely. If we don't get 4 points, I think we're done for Champions League. But we'll wait and see.
So Cool K saying, Apollo and Andy, once Marina goes, the truth will go out, and Marina's lack of man management skills will be laid bare. I fully agree he has lost the support of many, if not all, the dressing room. I think Neil read a great point, actually, which is...
It's a line that's being peddled by all the Arsenal fans.
No, I do think he was a good point, actually, which is Marina has not been the same Marino since his second stint at Chelsea, where he won the championship. I mean, he go to Manchester, he did win the Europa League. It's not been the same Marino. Frankly, if you go into a team and you've ostracized players like Shaw, who now is playing gangbusters, you have ostracized Dele Alli. He did some of the things that he does it everywhere he goes, but it worked when you're winning trophies. When you're not winning trophies, when you're not being top 4, when you're not winning the league, all those things which are deemed to be attributes and assets and great things that you do, they just look like you're just a mean old geezer who is not producing the goods. You can get away with being difficult when you're winning in any profession, in anything that you do in life. You can be the most difficult trader, portfolio manager. You make a ton of money for the company. Everybody embrace you, while behind your back they're saying, you know what, I hate working with him. But there's no but when you're not winning trophies, as you know, Andy. So he's gonna be challenged if he doesn't win the Carabao Cup this year. Let's see what happens at the end of the season with Spurs fans saying, we're not playing good football. You have good talent. You're not winning. We got knocked out of the Europa League, was the only chance of Champions League. We haven't gotten the top 4. What's your excuse? I don't think you can fire him this year, but like Arteta, he has 1 year left to demonstrate that he can move Spurs forward. So now we go to Arsenal. And I'll start with Tony. What does Arsenal need? And I'm laughing because I have an idea. What does Arsenal need to get to top 6? I don't want to say top 4 because we're not playing nowhere close to top 4. We're 10th in the league. What do we need as a team?
Bring back Wenger. We don't have enough time.
Mate,
we don't have enough time on this show.
Do the Cliff Notes version, the summary version.
Okay. Let me break this down. We need a new goalkeeper. We have adequate cover in the defense now, I believe. We could probably do with a replacement right back, but it's not a priority for me.
Why did you let Martinez go?
Yeah, because of the stupid board at Arsenal deciding that he was going to be the one to go. Stupidity. And then getting a kid like Runarsson in instead, just madness. Anyway, I'll move on because otherwise we'll be here all day. A midfield partner for Thomas Partey. Xhaka has done well, but we need a better midfield partner. And then up front, I'll get rid of all of our strikers. I'll keep following Balogun, who I believe is about to sign a 4-year deal because he's a good youngster. But you can have everybody else. And Martinelli, who is mustard. Yeah, the rest of them can go. I've heard rumors.
Wait, what about Saka? I just want to make sure I'm clear on this.
I'm about to say this. I've heard rumor, and it's a big rumor, of course, that Arsenal are willing to let Saka go to finance a massive summer transfer project. I would let him go. Honestly.
Okay.
I would honestly let him go. If we're getting stupid money and we can bring in six really good players in all the positions that we need, I would sacrifice Saka in order to get...
How much money would you have to get from Saka to get 6 really good players?
Okay, the issue here, Andy, is quite simply, Arsenal have at least 5 players out of contract. Yeah? We got 2 on loan who can return to their club in Odegaard and Ceballos. Yeah. We probably have another 5 players who have got 1 year left on their deal, where you kind of got to go, well, it's either sell them or extend the contract, like to Lacazette, like to Xhaka, sorry. Yeah. So quite frankly, and I've been saying this for quite a while, for Arsenal, they did a huge amount of business in January, getting rid of about 4 or 5 players. They're going to have the same again this summer. Players like Torreira, Guendouzi, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Reece Nelson, Joe Willock, David Luiz, Callum Chambers.
Don't talk to me about Joe Willock.
You know, they're just a plethora of players at Arsenal who are either underperforming, end of deals, not getting a look in, just can't get a look in, even though they're good players, likes of William Saliba, who's tearing up trees in France, but can't get a look in. So Arsenal got a lot of business to do. And quite frankly, to get to the position they're at now is woeful. It's woeful. So I personally think we've got so many things that we have to do. I'd happily get rid of Lacazette. I'd happily let go of Aubameyang if we have to, because I think we just have to start from scratch. I think the only players that I'd honestly say don't let go: Partey, Gabriel, Balogun, Martinelli, Emil Smith-Rowe. That's it. Kieran Tierney, sorry. How can I forget Kieran Tierney, the next captain of this team? Literally anybody else can go.
So you want to keep only 6 of your 25 players? So it appears, I'm going to have my comment, but I'll let Andy and Neil go first. Andy, what do you think we need, Andy? What do you think we need? Tony said we need to be in the championship. What do you think we need, Andy?
I can't see why everyone's frozen on my screen. I can't see any.
No, we can see you. We can see you, so it must be your phone. You good now?
All right. So, yeah, okay. I think that, well, to be fair to Tony, I don't think he's far off. I think maybe he's going a little bit far. But, you know, I mean, why you'd let Saka go? I mean, I know you talk about funding and rebuild, but, you know, why would you let one of your academy products go? That would seem to me to be nonsensical. I'd be trying to build the team around the Martinellis, the Sakas, the Emil Smith-Rowes, you know, or integrating them into the team. What I think you need is a couple of really experienced heads in your squad. You know, a couple of leaders, a centre half that's going to pull people up by the scruff of their necks. You know, you're not going to get. Adams was quite unique, but someone of that ilk. You know, whether you've got, even if you've got someone that's like a Dunk or someone like that from Brighton, or someone might not be top class, but someone that will actually, you know, grab people together, and, you know, a proper leader, and someone else in the centre of the park as well. You know, someone that will stamp his authority in the game. You know, it's. I think your spine. I think you've got a problem in your spine, and that is obviously something that you need to address. And, you know, I don't want to give you too many ideas because I'm quite enjoying. I'm quite enjoying it.
We gave you ideas with Spurs. We say you go back 5. Neil, what do you think we need, Neil?
Yeah, one sec. Jurgen, Saka's available if you want him. I just sorted that one. He's on his way to Liverpool. Seriously, looking at that squad, I do actually have to agree with Tony on that. Whenever I look at a squad, I kind of look and kind of say, who would get into Liverpool's first team? I can't think of any players in that squad that would get into the first team, and Liverpool are struggling at this moment in time, especially defensively. I controversial again. I think that Lacazette and Aubameyang waste of space. This season, they've been a waste of space. I mean, there's so much potential when they came into that squad, right? Last season, they looked so much better. And I'm kind of angry because I had them in my fantasy football for a long time. For a long time.
You just spoke to me. Told you to go down that route.
and I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I personally think that Arteta should be given a bit more time, and whoever he's after, he should be given the money to sort that out. Because I do believe he has the skill to actually improve on that team, but he hasn't had the opportunity, in my view. He's just had to use what he's got, and the fact that a lot of your players are really playing really bad. I never thought that Arsenal would be playing this bad in any season. So yeah, if you're talking about players, you can probably count on one hand how many players to keep, let alone players, and that's really sad. And in one way, I'm kind of glad because that's one less team that Liverpool need to worry about. But at the same time, we're supposed to have like the most competitive league in Europe, yeah, and we haven't because we have so many good teams who have so many players that right now are a waste of space.
Yeah, so I'll say a couple of things. One is, I think our problem is foundational. So when you look at a problem, you'll think about what's the root cause of your problem to fix the problem. Don't fix the symptoms. Don't say you're going to move players around, move managers around, move coaches around. Think foundationally, what is it that's you're built on? And frankly, we haven't had the best structure in place. I think they're trying to change that. Best structure in terms of whether it's scouting, whether it's board decision-making, whether it's who we acquire. Those fundamentals core of any business in terms of how you operate and how you go and source talent, put it together, how you pay people, how you pay fee. All of that has been dysfunctional, and it manifests itself on the field. So if you look at our players, most of them have major deficiencies. If you look at Mane, for example, quick, skillful, athletic, can go forward, can score goals. Salah similarly, right? For me, I'm not a great goal scorer, but all the other attributes. Look at Aubameyang, and I've said this for the last 2 years, and I get grief on this. And when we were trying to re-sign him, I said we shouldn't re-sign him because he's too deficient in what you need. He's been a great goal scorer. What else does he do? In fact, I'm actually in the process now of aggregating our ratings and AFT ratings to come up with his average ratings for the game he scores this season. Can tell you, if he doesn't score, he doesn't get above a 5. Yeah. If Kane doesn't score, Kane still gets a 7 or 8. Aguero doesn't score, he still may get a 6 or a 7. Aubameyang, no. Lacazette just has a lot of deficiency. Lack of speed, not always a short in front of goals. Does link play beautifully. If you put Laka and Aubameyang together, you get a very good forward. Separate and distinct, it doesn't work. Now you can think about all our other team. Gabriel, even though he's a very good defender, physical, quick, makes too many mistakes. Like he has the David Luiz disease syndrome. David Luiz, most penalties given away in the league, always gets sent off, always, even though he's a good footballer. If you look at the Brazil 24 World Cup when they got 7, David Luiz just go to pieces when things not going well. So if you go through holistically our team, you can't go through every single player because they all have deficiency. We need to adopt the Dortmund model or the Liverpool model. I buy low and I sell high. I encourage youngsters to come to me who are great youngsters like a Billingham or a Sancho or a Haaland. I tell you know what? 4 years from now, you may go on to someplace else. You may stay with us because we're the self-sustaining model. And that model doesn't work unless you have some strategy, like I'm suggesting, we employ. Right now, what we're doing is we buy these old heads, like a David Luiz, a William, a Aubameyang, even more so a Lacazette. They don't produce, and we're stuck with them. And our old Ozil wasn't that old, but you could see where he was going as a player. So we got to get the foundation right. Hopefully, Edu and Arteta will get that in play. We go buy younger players who have more rounded skill, and at the end of the day, we can then be in a better place than we are. But right now, I don't know where we're going because we're 10th. And frankly, it's not as if we're 10th with 50 points. We have probably lost as much games as we have won, which says all about our season. So let's go to we're finished with the teams. I can see what each of our teams need more resources. More importantly, I think Neil needs less than what we need. And they need less than Arsenal. Arsenal just needs a team because our performance against Liverpool says everything about a game. We were beyond dismal. Let's just go and run this out with the games coming up for this weekend. We just saw Wolves beat Fulham 1-0. So I think Fulham is going back to where they just came from. So Andy, tomorrow's game, Man City versus Leeds. Your prediction?
Well, Leeds are unpredictable in terms of they can turn it on and beat anybody, quite frankly. And they got a 1-1 draw against City earlier in the season. But I expect City to get the win that they'll want, because City can wrap the title up before the cup final against us. If they win their next couple of games, United slip up once, City can win the title. So I think City will be going all out to complete the title, to wrap the title up, so they can concentrate on the Champions League.
Yeah. What about yourself, Neil? Man City Leeds?
Okay. It depends on which Leeds turns up. At the beginning of the season, Leeds surprised a lot of teams. They played really well. I think they've obviously done enough now that they're not going to get relegated. So I personally believe that that's going to be like 3-1 to City.
Okay, Tony?
Yeah, I'm like with Andy. I think Man City have got one thing on their mind: is wrap up this league as quickly as possible, so that we can play reserve team football every weekend and concentrate on midweek football. So I'm going to go for 3-1 as well.
G saying Leeds had more ball possession than Man City last game. Interesting. That's unique in terms of that doesn't happen to Man City. And Leeds play a high tempo game like Man City in some respects. So interesting that they would have more ball possession.
If Leeds get anything, they go above Arsenal, don't they?
Yeah.
Push up the bottom half of the table.
Well, Andy, that's not saying much. Anybody goes above us nowadays. What about Liverpool, Aston Villa, Neil?
Liverpool are looking obviously to get revenge on that game. There again, depends on which Liverpool turns up. I think that's going to be 1-1 draw.
Okay, Andy?
I think Liverpool win that. I think no Grealish. Grealish is now out for another few weeks, apparently. Which I said that people were laughing at me. They said, "Oh, Dean Smith said he's only going to be out for one game." I said, the rumours are he's got shin splints. If he's got shin splints, he's out minimum 6 weeks. I've had it. I know exactly what it's like. And you try and come back too early, you do it again, and you've got real problems. So, if Grealish is out, he's going to be jeopardising the Euros now. I just think without Grealish, Liverpool going to win that one.
Okay. What score are you predicting? Have we lost Andy? Tony, what score are you predicting?
I'll go 2-1 Liverpool.
Tony?
I'm going to go 2-0 Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree with Tony. Well, I'm going to say 3-1 Liverpool, actually. I think Villa does score goals, actually, even without Grealish. Not a lot, but they do score. Chelsea Palace. Interesting. Andy?
Is it at Palace?
Yes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised at a goalless draw.
Interesting. Neil?
I'm actually going to go with a Palace win, 1-0. But every now and then they turn up. They actually do turn up and play some decent football. Yeah, I can see 1-0 to Palace at home.
Hey, Tony?
Oh, this is an interesting one, because Chelsea, do they rest on the 2-0 that they've got in the Champions League first leg? I'm going to go 1-0. Because I'm on the fence.
Chelsea strategy is they're not scoring in the middle of the park. I mean, this goals are distributed, right? Champions League game, the center forwards are not scoring. I'm going to say still Chelsea 2-1. Burnley, Newcastle. Go ahead.
The way I read it, Hodgson he's very good at setting up teams not to concede goals. He's quite a sort of, defensive manager in that regard. And Chelsea aren't blowing teams away with their attacking play at the moment, but they themselves are very astute defensively, apart from what they did at against West Brom last week, which just came out of the blue and no one saw coming. So I could see it being a game as cagey for a while. Chelsea should beat Palace. There's no question about it. They should. But I don't know. Again, they might have half an eye on. I think that was the problem against West Brom. They had half an eye on the first leg of the thing. They've done that job well. Will Tuchel have them up for tomorrow? Probably he will. But Palace aren't easy to break down, apart from Liverpool, who beat them 7-0. But no, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chelsea win. But if I'm going to go for a thing, I could see it being a bore draw. So
Burnley, Newcastle. I'll go to Andy on this. Newcastle with a great build-up. Your prediction on this, Andy?
Again, who's at home?
Burnley.
Burnley's at home.
Burnley home to Newcastle.
Yeah.
Do we know if Callum Wilson's still not back?
Don't know about Callum. No, St. Maximum is back. Almiron is back, but don't know about Callum Wilson.
I could see Burnley winning this one, 1-0.
Okay, Neil.
Oh yeah, I agree. Burnley winning this. Newcastle. There's only one direction they're going, and that's down.
Just remember, Newcastle drew with the great Tottenham Hotspur. I'm going to say Spurs. The great Tottenham Hotspur. They drew with them last time out. So with St. Maximum just playing about 20 minutes.
I think realistically, when you look at that game, that should be one of the best games out there because both teams are struggling. Both teams want to get out of the ball, and I think that you're going to see close to the best that both teams will play this season. So I think it'll be an exciting game, but neither of them can finish that well. So I can see Burnley just scraping it 1-0.
Tony?
Yeah, I agree with Neil, actually. I think this is going to be an exciting game because both teams will have seen most of their players during the entire 2-week break. So they're going to be fresh players. They're going to be lively. This should be a 90-mile-an-hour game because, quite frankly, neither team has lost huge amounts of their resources during the break. But I'm going to go like Neil, 1-0 to Burnley.
Okay, I think it'll draw 2-2. I watched the Newcastle Spurs game, and I watched the Burnley game. West Ham Leicester, Andy. It's a good game.
Yeah, it is a big game as well. I think if Leicester win this game, they might just about seal Champions League qualification for them. They'll just have enough I think as a buffer, but. I'm hoping. I think West Ham are going to suffer without Rice and Antonio. They're two key players for West Ham. But I think. But I'm hoping that West Ham can beat Leicester tomorrow. And I know some Spurs fans might say, "Well, why do you want West Ham to beat them?" Is because I want to draw Leicester back into the race, so that there's two spots available rather than at the moment there's only really one fourth place. So I still think we can draw Leicester back into it. Because if you look at Leicester's last 3 games of the season, it's Chelsea, Man United, Spurs. That's their last 3 games of the season. So, and we go to Leicester on the last day of the season. Do you imagine if we can get within 3 points of Leicester for that last game? That could be huge. So,
well, that's good and bad though, Andy, because if Man U have sewn up second and they're focused on Europa League, they may not play their strength, the best team to play against Leicester. It all depends actually where they are.
That is possible. You're right. That's possible. But I'm hoping they think like that on Sunday when they play us.
No, I don't think so. Too early.
But my guess is they'll want to revenge that 6-1 beating we gave them at Old Trafford earlier in the season. But but we'll see how it goes. But but no, I mean, I'm going to go for West Ham to win that one. I'm hoping West Ham 2-1.
Neil?
Well, Leicester have got more to lose than West Ham because at the moment they look as if they've secured their spot. West Ham have been playing well in the past few games. I see West Ham actually doing more. I see Leicester kind of taking their foot off the pedal, thinking they've done it. They're in. They're not going to drop out the top four now. I think West Ham will surprise them, even though they haven't got Antonio. I still think they're strong enough to take Leicester. So I believe that's going to be a 2-1 to West Ham.
Tony?
I don't think they're strong enough without Antonio. I think they've got not, really good players around Antonio. But I think, sorry?
I think Rice, not having Declan Rice is, I think, a big problem for West Ham.
Yeah. But you know how Antonio just bullies teams, and his direct style creates mayhem for defenders. And you kind of got to go, well, who's going to do that for West Ham? They've got a fantastic first starting 11, maybe one or two others coming off the bench, but then there's a massive slump to the next, and I can't see them being as effective without those two key players. So unfortunately, I think Leicester win, which kind of makes it better for you, I think, Andy, because I think then you get closer to West Ham's position.
I think Andy's thinking with the last 3 games for Leicester, if Leicester loses, they get pulled back into the race, fighting for 2 slots versus 1, right? If Leicester wins only 1 slot, makes it more difficult.
That's the thinking for me. I think, because you see, I still think that Leicester can be caught, and if they can, then that means there's 2 slots available rather than just 1. I think it's a big that would make it a lot more of a fight. It will give Liverpool an extra incentive. It would give Chelsea more of an incentive, and I think that would then put even if West Ham can get a draw tomorrow, if Leicester just and other teams can win. But the truth is, unless Spurs beat United, it's no use to us anyway. So it's
yeah.
I mean, that draw at Newcastle cost us badly last weekend. I mean,
that's what happens when you have an Arsenal academy player who loves your team decide that you need to join us outside the top 4. And I'm sure Willa can sit there thinking the last minute, he may have spoiled Spurs top 4, actually. The
whole of that second half, I didn't sit down for the whole second half. I was literally standing in the living room watching the telly, and my wife was trying to concentrate on doing something else. She's got no interest in football. And she was saying, will you sit down? And I was like, they're going to equalise. If we don't get a third, they're going to equalise. Because you could just see it was just one of them games. Kane hit the post. We had another couple of chances. We didn't put them away. And to be fair to Newcastle, they absolutely deserved the draw. And if anything, they were probably the better side over the 90 minutes. So
Joy Linton should have scored at least 1.
I can't argue with the result at all. No issue with that. But we should have put the game away. We should have put the game to bed, and we didn't. And I just said, it's coming. Another 89th minute equaliser or whatever. It's coming. And of course, it had to be Willock to come off the bench to do it. Yeah.
It wasn't a tapping in. It was a thumping. Anyway, so I'll say this: West Ham, Leicester, I think it'll draw 1-1. Now we come to the featured game for the weekend, actually, which is Tottenham versus Man U. And I'll let you go, Andy. Your prediction for your game against Man U, who you drubbed the last time 6.
Come on, Spurs.
3-1? You mean next year or this year? Just want to be clear.
For the season.
Wow, Neil, your thoughts on that?
I think United are going to do it 1-0, unfortunately. We've just had this luck over the last sort of 4 or 5 games where they haven't looked that great, but they've managed to score the vital goal. I'd love to see Spurs beat United. I'd love anyone to beat United, to be honest. Can't see that. With the luck they've had so far, I can't see that happening, unfortunately. 1-0 to United.
Yeah, Tony?
I never want Spurs to win, but I do have a feeling they will win this game. I think Man United have got a big game Thursday night. Spurs again, no midweek football to look forward to. This is their season. This is one of their big defining games of the season. With 8 games to go, lose this one and it looks kind of bleak.
What's your prediction?
At the end of the season,
2-1 to Spurs.
Get the confidence, finish the season strongly.
Yeah, 2-1 to Spurs.
Yeah. So 18 said for 2 teams you don't like, 0-0 is the only result. I actually hate Man U more than Spurs. I must say that. Just be clear on that.
What?
Yes, I do actually. For most Arsenal, because I never consider Spurs to be competition. Only Spurs I consider Man U to be competition. So I never really hated Spurs with that venom that most Arsenal fans do. I'm always focused on Man U, and I want Man U to win anything in any game ever. But I'll say this: Man U's getting healthy at the right time, right? If Rashford can play against Spurs on Sunday, if they have their full team, given Spurs' defensive woes, it's going to be hard for Spurs to keep them out. So I'm going to predict Man U's going to win 2-1. We do have a couple more. We have another. Well, Sheffield against Arsenal. We won't talk about that game. Seriously, we won't. And Brighton against Everton. We won't. Brighton Everton is one game I'll mention. Which Andy? What are your thoughts on Brighton Everton?
Interesting. Brighton still needs something down there, don't they? They're still not complete. I think they'll be okay because it looks like Fulham have hit a brick wall after that brilliant run they had. They've hit a bit of a brick wall, but I think Brighton. Yeah, I think Brighton might need something. Is that Brighton?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I think I could see Brighton nicking this game or at least getting a draw. But let's go. I'll go 2-1 Brighton.
Okay, Tony.
You know what? I think Everton have really badly underperformed this season. I think we've had a bad season, and you can look at a lot of things, but I think Everton just really have been poor and then good and then poor and then poor. I wouldn't be surprised if Brighton win this. So I'm going to go with a 2-1 Brighton.
I would go with a Everton 2-1. I think they're in a position where they need to have this win, even though they've not been playing their best football. Huh? I'm mute.
Sorry?
Say again? Oh, Neil, I'm sorry. Neil, go ahead, Neil. No, sorry, Neil, go ahead.
That's all right. I agree with you guys. Brighton have more to fight for than Everton. Everton have been poor in a lot of their games. I see that being 2-0 to Brighton.
I'm going to predict Everton 2-1 versus that. So here's the last topic for the day. So think about this for a second. My nephew and I have been arguing this week about who are the top 5 creative/skillful players in the league. I'm going to say skillful versus creative. So if you were to think about the various teams in the league and the players, who do you think are the top 5 skillful players in the league? I'm asking Andy first.
De Bruyne.
I didn't say not necessarily creative, skillful. But there's a difference in some respects.
Ooh.
Skillful. Oh, you got to put Bobby Firmino in there for a start. He's got some serious skills.
Well, before we go there, take your time and think about it. And I wonder from the audience also, who do you think are the top 5 skillful players in the Premier League?
And Ndombele at Spurs.
Okay.
Unreal skill. Unreal.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eddie. Just give me 5. 4 more.
Can I pitch in? Can I pitch in one?
No. You're going to give me 5 and you give me your 5, Tony. Go on. Give me your 5, Andy.
De Bruyne, Ndombele, Foden.
Yeah.
Grealish.
Yeah.
And Fernandes.
Yeah.
Fernandes. Okay. Tony?
Okay, I'm going to go easily Kevin De Bruyne at number 1. I'm going to go with Saka. I'm going to go with my big one that I thought Andy would would be Rafinha at Leeds. I'm gonna go with Bruno Fernandes. And then do I go Grealish or Foden? Foden is really good.
Yes.
I'm going to go with Foden.
Who's put Pepe? Cool K.
So Cool K is saying it's Zaha, De Bruyne, Foden, Grealish, Pepe. Okay. Now don't disregard Pepe. Go ahead, Neil. Who are your 5?
Oh, okay. KDB, Fernandes, Bobby Firmino. To be honest, I do like Saka, and that's why I'm going to get onto, after this call, I'm going to get onto Klopp and try and how many is that? Is that 4, yeah?
4.
I'd have to say Rafinha, because he's impressed. He's one of the players that have come up, and he's impressed me quite a lot, and I was surprised with that. But yeah, I'd say those 5 for now.
Okay. So here's my 5, and then don't align with yours at all. I don't disagree. Those players are skillful. Number 1 to me is Saint Maximum, most skillful player I think in the league by a good distance, frankly. 2nd is Grealish. 3rd is Zaha. 4th is Traore, and to me 5th is Rashford. Those are my 5.
Rashford.
Yes. No. If you watch Rashford play, no, you guys are laughing. But skillful to me is your ability to bamboozle your man. To get, I don't see Kevin De Bruyne bamboozling anyone.
Wait. He drops a dime piece every game. Are you mad?
Who drops one? Who drops one?
KDB.
Kevin De Bruyne drops a dime piece every game.
No, guys.
I mean, the man is like Magic Johnson in footballing terms.
I don't see it that way.
The only person we haven't really mentioned is the
No, you know what? Sorry. No. Take that back.
And the top assist man is Harry Kane.
No. So guys, I take a step back.
And top assist.
So I made a mistake. I had Ndombele versus Rashford. Sorry, I had Ndombele versus Rashford. Guys, when I talk about skillful, meaning you give me the ball, you give me 4 opponents, and I'm joking, say, you know what, you guys are not even going to be able to glimpse this ball. Saint Maximum is ridiculous. I watched him against Spurs the other day when he came on, and he's a joke. Traore is also another one. Traore doesn't have a finish. Traore cannot beat. They put the ball in the middle of the field, and that's it.
He actually beat players with trickery. He just runs fast.
No. He beats them with trickery.
Sure.
I don't beats them with trickery.
Sure,
Zaha. None of you guys mentioned Zaha. What are you guys thinking? Nobody mentioned Zaha. You've seen Zaha play? Watch him against Chelsea on Sunday.
He's the young Cristiano Ronaldo. Too many stepovers.
Yeah.
Who's Facebook user?
Your man going strong, boy. It's been a minute. Hope you're all well. Not sure who that is.
Facebook user on mine.
Yeah, please identify yourself, Facebook user.
Yeah.
But you 3 were very similar actually in terms of De Bruyne, Foden, Grealish. At least we agree. But I don't agree Fernandes is the most skillful, frankly. I think Fernandes has skill, but he plays in one space. I don't see him going by people.
But you got to look at people who can drop a dime piece. Yeah, Magic Johnson. Yeah,
I didn't say creative. No, I said skillful. Meaning,
but that is a skill, bro. That is
no. But think about it this way:
in the right place at the right time is a phenomenal skill. That's Odegaard. Would you not say Dennis Bergkamp is one of the most skillful players of all time?
But he's skillful and he can drop a dime. It can do both. So Odegaard, for example, can drop a dime like any other player in the league, even as good as De Bruyne sometimes. De Bruyne can do it from a further distance. Odegaard, between the lines, can drop a dime to get you on the ball at the right pace to get in on goal. That's not what Zaha does, not what Grealish does. That's not what Saint Maximum does. But to me, Saint Maximum, I would love to buy Saint Maximum. And I'd be surprised if he doesn't go to a bigger team. You got to learn how to finish and create chance for his teammate, but he's difficult to mark. Apollo said the dormitory
last season, but Traore this season has not been the same.
He's not being as effective. He's not being as effective. I would agree with that. He's not being as effective. Any other last words, guys, before we... Sorry, Neil, we can't hear you. Are you on mute?
Yeah, I was saying even the game today, if you look at the way he played against Fulham, he was not that effective at all. Yes, he got the counting goal, but before that, he wasn't great. He was not great against Fulham.
Yeah, Apollo is saying KDB, Madison. Apollo, go back to your previous. KDB, Madison, Greedish, Zaha, Traore. You have 3 of my 5. I still think St. Maximum is the most skillful of all. 18 is saying KDB, Pogba, Traore, Pepe, Aguero. Aguero, I don't see him as the most skillful. Holding the ball up. Pepe is skillful, though. Pepe is ridiculously skillful. We have to agree with it. If you watch YouTube and look at Pepe's skill, you'll see the skillfulness. It doesn't come up in games because he turns the ball over too much. Nobody has mentioned Philip Anderson from West Ham.
If you can't do it in a match, not very much use.
Yeah.
I can do it over the park.
No, he does it in game. He did it more at Lille than he's done it in the Premier League. Premier League is much tougher to do it. More gang tackle, not as much room. Felipe Anderson has to play Apollo for us to call him out. Boufal from Southampton is very skillful. Just doesn't get a lot of game time, actually. But he's very, very skillful. So is Traore from Villa, actually. He's also pretty skillful. But we don't see enough of them to be able to show that. Any last words? I'll go to Neil first.
Yeah, last word. Off to Swansea, Birmingham and Rangers. Sticking it to social media, because I believe that obviously social media needs to have more they need to signs up, because too many people can sign up, and obviously we've got these keyboard warriors with the stupid racism crap. So hats off to those 3 clubs who hopefully have started a trend.
Yeah, Andy.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Prince Philip. And come on, you Spurs. That's me done.
Hey, Tony.
Rest in peace, DMX. Thank you for the memories. Have a great weekend, everybody. Hope you all have your Monday drinking organized, and hopefully I can see some of you in the flesh in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say a couple of things. One is we seem to be making progress as related to the virus, especially in places like Israel and the UK, who are getting their vaccination to a good place, and less so in the US. So I'm hopeful that we can all, at some point, be fully vaccinated. If you take the vaccine, if you don't, and you feel comfortable going out, more power to you also. By the summer, we can all go out, enjoy the summer, and somehow to return to some semblance of normalcy, inclusive of crowds getting into the stadium, especially for tournaments like the Euro, so we can all really enjoy the human voice in that environment versus some manufactured voice, which is totally different. And hopefully we can all have a great summer and look forward to, as we all do, to the new season when we all think we're going to win the league or be top 4. And then most of us end up with disappointment, especially for those who are Arsenal fans. But to all of us being with us, thanks for joining us. Love to have you guys. And hopefully we can have a great weekend of soccer or a great weekend of football, and see you next week. Take care. Goodbye.
Yeah,
now.
See you later.
Bye, guys.